Annie, we really need to jump now into the program. And the first presentation will be given by Paul Robichung on the reference frame from the reference frame working group. So please, Paul, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Felix. Can you see my screen? Can you hear me all right?
Perfectly. Yes.
Okay, so let's go. So I'm Paul Robichung from IGN France. I've been chairing the IGS reference frame working group for 5 years now. And I'm going to brief you on the working group activities since the last associate member meeting. Yeah. But before that, I've been asked to remind the main objectives of the working group. So here they are. The first objective is to generate the official station positions, station velocities, and ERP products. This is done operationally by combining the daily SINEX solutions provided by the final analysis centers into the daily IGS combined SINEX solutions, and B, by weekly updates of a long-term stacking of the daily combined solutions into the long-term IGS cumulative solution. So the next objective is to define the successive IGS reference frame based on the successive releases of the ITRF. Since I've been involved in the IGS, there have been 4 such successive operational reference frame based on ITRF 2008, then ITRF 2014, plus 1 specific reference frame that was needed for the REPRO3 campaign. The third objective is to collaborate with the antenna working group in updating estimates of the GNSS satellite phase center offsets. This has been done based on the ITRF 2008 scale for the IGS-08 antex file, based on the ITRF 2014 scale for the IGS-14 antex file, and finally, based on the published Galileo satellite phase center offsets for the REPRO3 antex file. And the last main objective is to provide the IGS contribution to the successive ITRF updates, which is achieved by combining the daily AC SINEX solutions from the successive IGS reprocessing campaign. Now, what's new since the last associate member meeting? Let's first mention that there finally has been some progress on the long-standing IC recommendation to provide at least weekly positions for all IGS stations rather than just those selected by the final ACs. And this is thanks to the GFZ Analysis Center, who volunteered to include the missing IGS stations in their final products. Since then, less than 10 IGS stations with data available are typically missing in the weekly SINEX solutions, so that this recommendation is finally nearly fulfilled. Then, an update to the IGS-14 reference frame called IGB-14 was adopted in May last year, and that was quite needed given the decay of IGS-14 in terms of both the number of usable reference frame stations and extrapolation errors. And finally, the big piece of work of this year was the combination of the daily AC SINEX solutions from the REPRO3 campaign so as to form the IGS contribution to ITRF 2020. The final IGS REPRO3 combined SINEX solutions were made available in April this year. The combination results have been presented at EGU, IAG, and Tour de l'IGS, so I refer you to these presentations for details. But in short, the REPRO3 station position time series are longer, denser, more numerous, and more precise than the REPRO2 series. So the IGS contribution to ITRF 2020 is on the whole better than the previous one, although it's still affected by lingering problems and systematic errors. And let's also mention that, unlike in REPRO2, a majority of ACs have provided multi-GNSS solutions in REPRO3. One particular achievement of REPRO3 is that thanks to the publication of the Galileo satellite phase center offsets, the IGS could provide for the first time an ITRF-independent Galileo-based estimate of the terrestrial scale. And you can see how this scale compares with those of the other technique contributions to ITRF 2020 in this plot provided by Zouer Al-Tamimi. And the outcome is that there's a small but significant offset in rate between the IGS REPRO3 scale and the SLR VLBI average, which still needs to be understood. Finally, After the daily combined repros resolutions have been released, and as part of the ITRF 2020 preparation, a detailed analysis of the repros 3 station position time series was carried out. A full repros 3 discontinuity list, as well as new post-seismic deformation models, have been published just last Friday, along with a preliminary version of ITRF 2020. The repros 3 series were also confronted with the loading models provided by the Global Geophysical Fluid Center for ITRF 2020. And a spectral analysis of the repros 3 series was carried out, evidencing the usual spurious draconitic and tide-related systematic errors, but also new features. I won't go into the details here, and I refer you to my AGU presentation. The slides are already online, but feel free to ask for a video of that presentation if you're not registered at AGU. And future work. Well, after the final version of ITRF 2020 is released, hopefully in February next year, it will be time to prepare the IGS transition to ITRF 2020. This implies defining a new IGS 20 framework in collaboration with the Antenna Working Group and planning the transition together with the analysis centers and the analysis center coordinators. And besides, the analysis of random and systematic errors in the repros 3 station position time series will be pursued with the aim of providing further feedback to the ACs and pinpointing possible further improvements for the IGS contribution to the next ITRF. And that's it. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks so much, Paul. So just recalling that you can write your questions in the discussion on the tool you are. We are already running out of time, but maybe time for a very short question, someone?
There is one that just came from Frank.
Ah.
It's what is the citation for BOI 2021, including DOI?
I don't think it's published. It's published in a paper. It's just a report by Jean-Paul Bois, which you can find on the internet. Just type GDFC ITRF 2020 and you will find it.
Okay, thank you, Paul.